This is Chris from Southeast Industrial Equipment, Duncan Branch. We're going to do our PM on our truck. The first thing I did as I was bringing the truck up, I was driving, I was checking the horn, make sure it worked properly, checking my lights, checking the brakes, just doing visual checks as I was driving it. Some of the things you can tell about if there's any unusual noises it may be making, and just overall just kind of a visual scan inspection as you're going to the location of where you're going to actually PM. First part of the PM, before we jack the back of this forklift up, we need to make sure that the counterweight bolt is secure and tight. The easiest way to check that is just to reach in and feel the washer on the back side of the bolt. If that washer is tight, then we know that the bolt is tight and the counterweight is not going to fall off. If the washer is loose, we need to, first thing is to tighten that bolt up, because this counterweight is very heavy, it is a safety hazard, and if it falls on you it could be deadly. Okay, the next thing we want to do after we have it jacked up and have it secured where a wooden block, we want to open up our LP tank bracket so we can access the hood and underneath. As I'm doing this, I'm constantly scanning the forklift for any issues or any problems that it may have. So as you're PMing the truck and doing your walk around, you're constantly looking at things and constantly checking things with your eyes. Now we have access underneath the hood to where we can get to our filters, and we can do visual checks. We have our hood raised up. We're now going to take the drain plug out of the oil pan and drain our oil out. As our oil is draining, we have time to continue to do visual inspection of the forklift. While it's jacked up is a great time to check our steer axle and our steer axle assembly. The easiest way to check our kingpins is to take the wheel and work it back and forth, which you can tell that it has a lot of play in it and it's very loose, which is a safety hazard, obviously for possible breakage and losing steering capabilities. So we definitely need to have that looked at, possibly replaced. Okay, we also want to check our tire wear, and the rule of thumb is we have numbers and letters on the tires, and as you can tell, if the top of the tire wear is touching the top of the numbers, is an indication that the tire needs to be replaced. Also look for cracks, separation from the actual wheel. This tire definitely has some separation issues and cracking, so it would be recommended that this be replaced. Check is our brake pedal pads to make sure of the wear on them. Let's do a visual and a physical check. As you can tell, the part brake pad is cracked and worn, definitely in need of replacement. Our engine pedal pad also is cracked and worn, that needs replacing, and our brake pedal pad, which is also worn and cracked, needs to be replaced also, which is a safety hazard, because definitely if the pad wears out and comes apart, then the foot could easily slip off these brake pedals and cause non-stopping. Yeah, upon our visual inspection, as you can tell, the truck has a lot of dust, a lot of dirt, which obviously the truck needs to be blown out and blown off. Our fuse box cover, which is sometimes overlooked, you take the cover off. As you can tell, there's a lot of dirt and grime inside where the fuses are at. It'd be a good idea to blow this out and get a lot of dust and the dirt out of the fuse box, so it'll prevent future problems down the road for the customer. Next thing we want to do is check our air filter and our air filter assembly. Visually inspect and check, make sure it's tight, all the clamps are tight, nothing's loose. Then we want to check the actual filter, which you just remove these locking tabs. There's 3 of them on each cap. It just pulls off, and as we can tell, this filter has a lot of debris inside of it. And normally you write the date that you have changed it and the hours that you have changed it, so you can keep track of how long it's been. this particular one has over 1,000 hours on it, I would replace this filter because it's a vital part of the way the engine runs and the productivity of the engine. Okay, as you can tell, we need to replace the air filter, which is visually old, worn out. This is a new air filter, so you can tell the difference in. Now we're going to install our new filter after we've put in the hour meter number and the date in which we changed it, so we can keep track of when it was changed. So we're going to install it with just a push and a little twist to get it securely snug in there. And on our cap, on our top, we have a arrow which will line up with the arrow here. Snap our 3 locks back in place. And we're going to start draining our transmission fluid. And the thing I do is I leave the dipstick inserted in the transmission, so as you take the plug out, it doesn't allow the fluid to come all out at one time, so it allows it to come out slowly so it doesn't spill out everywhere and make a big mess. Changing our oil filter, which is located between the battery and the engine, and using our oil filter wrench, just want to snugly secure it and just twist it loose. Twist it off by hand, and there. This is our new filter, which we've written the hour meter and the date on, so we can keep track of the PM service on it. And we want to secure it to the engine block, which we will screw it on by hand. And once we get it snug, we go about 1/4 of a turn, and that will be tight. We're going to change the transmission filter. Before I do anything, I put a spare pan underneath the filter, because when we take the filter off, there will be fluid in it, and it'll minimize any leakage on the customer's floor or property. So we're going to take our same wrench, secure it to the filter, and spin it loose. And as you can tell, there will be fluid. And spin it off, and now we are ready to install our new filter with our hour meter and our date wrote on it. And now we're going to install it back onto the truck. And it's the same as installing the oil filter. We just want to spin it on until we get it snug, and then go another 1/4 turn. We have the hood up as we're under the hood, changing our fluids and our filters. We can also go ahead and do a visual check and a physical check on all of our hoses to make sure they're secured, check our fan condition, if any broken blades, do an inspection of our belt to see if there's any cracks or wear in the belt itself that needs replacing. And we just kind of go and do a visual check of everything underneath, kind of wiggle and make sure things are tight and not loose, and in good condition. Okay, now that we're done with this, put our new filters on, we're going to get back underneath and install our plugs back into our transmission and our engine. Now we're going to replace the oil that we've drained in the engine, and we remove our oil fill cap and take this hose loose to allow the oil to breathe as we're putting it in the engine. Funnel. Now we have our fluid change. We're going to replace our cap and our hose. And just the snug tightness. Put our hose back on. Replace our transmission fluid. Pull our dipstick out. Then we'll replace our dipstick back in the dipstick. Okay, now that we've completed changing our fluids and our filters, we're going to grease our truck, and while we have the truck jacked up is a perfect time to grease our steer axle. And so once we get our steer axle grease on this side, the other side is just a repeat process. Make sure the hose is secure to the grease fitting. And as you'll notice, the grease starting to come out just a little bit. And that's when you know you have enough in it. Then we want to take and wipe off the excess. To help prevent dirt and debris from collecting. Now we're going to put our floor plate back on and let our hood back down. And so as we're doing this, still continuously doing a visual check and looking over the forklift to see if we see any other problems that we may have overlooked. Okay, now we're going to grease our mast. We're going to grease our tilt cylinder pins, and we're also going to grease our mast caps and our side shift attachment. We're going to have to raise it up slightly and tilt it forward so we can get access to our mast caps. I canned your truck and I found a few issues with it. The forks have some wear at the heels and need to be replaced as a safety item and a safety issue. The drive tires have worn down to the tops of the letters, so they're possibly I would replace them also. And the brake pedal pads are worn. They have cuts. Could be a safety item and could be dangerous. But overall, the truck looks good. All the fluids have been changed. It's been greased and taken care of, and you should be ready and good to go until your next PM. And if you have any more issues or any problems arise, just please let us know and we'll correct.